Parents across the country are outraged as woke leftists continue to push twisted ideologies on America's children. A public library in Fairfax County, Virginia, a great state, which should be used to educate and enrich the community, is instead promoting leftist sexual ideology. In a holiday reading display, books such as Genderqueer, which includes imagery of sex acts between a boy and a man, and Lawn Boy, where the author reminisces about his experiences, his explicit experiences, as a 10-year-old child, were displayed prominently next to the Holy Bible. But it's not just books. In New York City, a junior high school racially segregated students during discussions of social justice and identity to, quote, undo the legacy of racism and oppression in this country that impacts our school community. Here now, Nicole Neily, president of Parents Defending Education. Sounds like a good thing to me. Her group has filed a complaint against New York City public schools for that segregation of students. And Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. Thank you very much. Nicole, let me start with you, because what I've described here with what the library is doing, which of course is meant to, they don't want to be next to the Bible. It's meant to be insulting, but these are describing crimes. This is criminal, right? Molesting children is a crime. It's not romantic, and it's not acceptable. And it's also, by the way, not about being gay either, right? Tell me, when you're dealing with this kind of thing in schools, you've got your hands full. Tell me about your priorities now and what you guys are working on.
Sure. So we have a tip line, and this was one of the tips that came in. I mean, honestly, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And this was a public librarian trolling families after this big controversy that's been going on in Fairfax County. And if it weren't for this one mom who has really just kept at monitoring the situation, people wouldn't know about it. I mean, it really puts a whole new spin on the phrase ho, ho, ho. But, you know, we deserve better. And the fact that this is taking place under our noses is really disrespectful, because remember, this is being done with our tax dollars to our children in our neighborhoods.
That's a great point, Dave. You know, we've got this dynamic where I think clearly the left is trying to make it so people would be afraid to confront this when it's obvious, not just at the school boards and the CRT, but these kinds of things. It's childish, but it's also damaging and it's dangerous. What's your take?
Yeah, well, Tammy, look, we live in clown world at this point. Every day we wake up and some other absolutely patently ridiculous story like this is breaking, and we know this is happening in schools across America. And by the way, you know, the left loves to pretend. They love their semantic game that critical race theory is not taught in schools, and then we see them segregating students, or we see this offshoot with all this weird gender stuff. And your point about fear, it's like, this will continue. Everyone watching this should know this will continue until we all say enough. Yeah. You mentioned Virginia before. I mean, look, Youngkin's win in Virginia, you know, a month or so ago was a sign that people have had it. Parents don't want this nonsense, but they're going to push and push and push. And until we say, nope, that's it, they'll just keep coming.
Yeah, it's a great reminder, Nicole, because a lot of people might not know watching this show. I'm a gay woman. And this is not about whether you're gay or not. It's not even about left and right. This is nonpartisan. You know, this is about individuals being able to raise their children the way they want to. And yet your other project, your other focus is on this segregation, this racial segregating children, to talk about, you know, ending racism. How does that work? And how does it's a lawsuit you filed? Is that right?
Sure. We filed a complaint with the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. You can file a complaint if you feel that if discrimination has taken place on the basis of race, on the basis of gender. And that is exactly what's going on here. This is immoral, and it is unconstitutional. This is a violation of Brown versus Board of Education. And, you know, the school can say all at once, well, you know, this was voluntary. You know who else tried to say that this was voluntary? Jim Crow businesses in the South. This is not okay. We actually have a lawsuit. We've sued Wellesley Public Schools because they have this exact policy going on. This is not okay. It is time to tell schools this is not okay in 2021 to treat our children differently on the basis of skin color, period.
You know, and this is, again, we come back down to, Dave, this argument this expectation that you aren't supposed to push back in an environment that is one of authority, like a schoolroom. To say that anything is voluntary is bunk. And yet that's where they're moving to, especially when they're dealing with children. What would you say that people can do to push back here?
Well, first of all, you must speak up. We saw what happens when parents show up to these school board meetings. They actually affect things. Videos go viral. You give people bravery. But the simple fact is this. It's the people who purport to be anti-racist who are the racists in America in 2021. There is no one in America, no mainstream person in America who doesn't want the history of America to be taught properly, who doesn't want people to know about slavery, who doesn't want people to be taught about Martin Luther King Jr. or civil rights or anything else. The only people who are obsessed with race, who want to erase our history, who want to change our founding from 1776 to 1691 and whatever that project is, 1619. It's the woke leftists. They are here to burn down the system. And when we all say enough, as I just said, when we all say enough, they will stop because they're a paper tiger.
They are, and there are very few of them. Nicole, tell people where they can reach you and your work.
Sure. Our website is defendinged.org. We have a tip line. Almost all the tips we get in, people want to be anonymous because they are scared. I mean, the credit would fear retribution.
But that's
we will take the slings and arrows because this bad behavior must be exposed.
So defendinged.org.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas and happy holiday season here.